I think you need to scoot up a little bit. You're too much on that side. You've got to move up a little. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So do you want to first start talking about how you make the sourdough?
How I make the sourdough?
Well, your first step.
My first step is, so my starter lives in the fridge.
Yeah.
Okay. So I take the starter out to kind of wake up. I would say, let's say that I want to bake bread in the evening.
One day in the evening.
Yeah. Like tomorrow evening I want to bake bread. So today evening I will take the starter out.
So about a day in between.
Yeah, let's say 24 hours.
24 hours earlier you take the starter out.
I take the starter out. I usually take a little bit away and then add water and flour to make it in a thicker paste. To feed, kind of feed it.
In the jar still?
Yeah, still in the jar.
And the bit that you take away, what do you do with that?
Either make crackers, or you make crackers, or I give it to the chickens. They really like it. Yeah, pretty much either.
Is it so that you have more space in the jar also to activate it?
Yeah, yes, and when you take away, it sort of gets more hungry and sort of activates nicely.
Yeah.
So I do that in the evening and let it over the night.
Yeah. But not in the fridge, still staying
outside.
Out. Yeah.
Room temperature.
Room temperature.
If I am really like running short of time and I want to be quick, then I will put it closer to the wood stove where it's warmer, and you know, they say it should be fed at least 8 hours once in the last 8 hours. So I say, well, at least 8 hours of it being outside in the warmth, fed, just so it really awakens up, and then you can use it. And after the years, I found out it's really important to give it the time and to bake it up and let it do its thing. But when I started, I used years ago, I would use it straight away from the fridge, and the bread was dense, much denser. Not that it wouldn't be edible or anything, but it was much denser. It's better now doing it this way. So I have the starter ready in the morning.
It's been fed, it's been sitting for a while.
So I mix my flours. You want to know how much, or is it in the
well, I'll have the recipe written in the description and maybe on the screen. Yeah. But if you want to.
Yeah. So I use. I make the bread out of 1 kilogram of flour altogether. I use 400 grams of rye flour and 600 grams of wheat bread flour, strong flour. Sometimes I mix the half and half, the strong and spelt flour. I like it this way. I like the rye flour in it.
It tastes nice. I really like it.
But yeah, if I don't have 400 grams of rye flour for whatever reason, it's just
so long as it's all 1 kilogram.
Yeah, that's my measurement.
1 kilogram.
Because of the size of the oven I have, this is how much I make. Back in England, I used to make a bigger batch because I had bigger oven and I could bake 3 loaves at a time. Now I can fit 2 only. So.
Yeah. So this recipe is for 2, but you have one bigger pot and one smaller pot. Yeah. So like one's a bit bigger than the other.
But yeah, so you just adjust it. I think to work with 1 kilogram, it's easy then to. So if you take 1 kilogram, it's 100%, 40% is rye flour, 60% is wheat flour, strong wheat flour. It's easy to adjust it to any measurements later on. Then I add 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of caraway seed. Again, caraway seed is very popular in this country. It's in every bread. It's just bread seasoning. Caraway seed.
Love caraway seed. Like, and I don't understand. Like in England, nobody knows about caraway seeds. Nobody uses them. But they are like honestly like one of my favorite seasonings. It's so good.
It's funny because yeah, caraway seed here in this country
It goes in like everything.
Yeah, it's
sauerkraut.
Everywhere. Yeah.
When you boil potatoes,
yeah.
When you boil potatoes, everyone adds salt to their boiled potatoes, but we also add caraway seeds. It's just amazing.
But on the other side, cumin is not that common in this country. Which in England, cumin is everywhere, but to get caraway seed is not like, everyday thing.
It's different in every country, but caraway seeds are really good.
Then I add the starter. The thing is that I am kind of a winged person, quite a lot.
We both are.
So
yeah,
I would say
it was really hard for me when I was doing the banana bread recipe because I had to measure everything precisely. Otherwise, in real life, I would measure like the sugar, and that's it. Oh, the sugar and the oil, I do measure, but everything else, chuck it in a bowl.
Yeah.
But
so I would say I use a cup.
A cup of starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less. It depends how much I have as well. Sometimes I have more, I use more. And then we measured it, especially for you guys. We added 750 milliliters of water.
Yeah, that is something. In a lot of sourdough recipes, everyone puts a lot of water in there, and the recipes tend to be really runny.
Yeah.
Your recipes are a lot thicker, and a lot of people, again, in recipes, they do the stretch and fold. I've done that before. I did the stretch and fold, which did make a bit more bubbles, but I think
it's something I need to experiment with, but maybe in slightly better kitchen.
It's like sort of, it takes a lot of learning and practice to be able to get the whole thing going, but otherwise I'd say your recipe is good and you don't have to bother with any stretch and fold. It's like a simple leave it and then bake it later.
Yeah. So I did 750 milliliters of water and mixed it. As Karuna said, my recipe, my dough is not very runny. I found out that it's better when it's at least that amount of water what I used. If it's less, then it doesn't rise as well. So the runnier you make it, the better it rises. But I really struggle with the stickiness, and in our kitchen still kind of improvising with things, harder to wash and things like that. I would like to experiment a little bit more and try. Karina bought me lovely book, or actually one of you guys bought me lovely book about sourdough, and I would love to try it, but the amount of washing hands and surfaces would be a little bit harder here. So I am sticking for now with my sort of less watery recipe.
The thing though is, even though it, usually sourdough tends to be a much runnier like dough, you do get the hang of it. I don't know how it works, but even I did sourdough 2 times or something. I'm not too sure, from an actual person's recipe, not your recipe. I think I did it twice, and by the second time I did already start to get the hang with how runny it was. And a lot of people actually use water. Yeah. Which actually really helps, but obviously you need to be aware that the more water you use, it will get even more runny. But water does really help, that when something's sticky, the water won't stick.
I remember when we went to that food festival, whatever it was, that.
Yeah.
I remember watching them, and they used water and sort of constantly were.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something to come in our new kitchen.
Yeah.
Like very new final kitchen.
Yeah, and a kitchen that will be at some point in the future. Yeah.
Hopefully this year.
That would be, I would like that.
It might not be the final version, but like finalized version. But
yeah.
Well, never mind. So I mix it. Mix it all together with spoon for as long as it's doable. I tip it on the surface on the board table, and I knead it. But
So it's
literally
all
just
combined.
combine it.
Yeah.
I don't do long kneading. Maybe I'm lazy or I don't know. I just don't. I just mix it so it's really well combined. It's not sticking to anything. And then I put it in the bowl, cover it. We have beeswax cloth that Carolina made. We use that.
At the festival that
Yeah.
we were just talking about, yeah.
So you cover your bowl and you let it sit in room temperature or somewhere pretty much nice and warm for 8 hours. I usually, if it's during the day, it's for me, it's 8 hours. If it's overnight, then it's a little bit longer. But then it's not usually that warm anyway, so it takes longer. And then I take the dough out of the bowl, knead it a little bit again, divide it into 2 loaves, make each sort of loaf now nice and round, work with the dough a little bit, and put it in the proofing basket, which could be really just proofing basket if you have one, or which I have one, and the second one I use normal glass bowl that I line with a piece of cloth.
And flour.
Dusted with flour so it doesn't stick to it. But again, I think it's more likely to stick to it if it's runnier, if it's that runny kind of dough. And what I do when I put it in the proofing basket, then I kind of start a little bit of timing. So I leave it after half an hour. I let it on side. After half an hour, I switch the oven on the full blast. What is it? 250 degrees Celsius. I don't know how many Fahrenheit that is. And I put my cast iron pots in the oven so they are nicely heated as well.
They gotta be hot.
Yeah. And then
You leave that part
for half an hour. I leave that on for half an hour so it's really, really hot.
So by that time,
So it's an hour after. Yeah.
the loaves have been proofing for an hour at that point.
And then I know some people are not using any sort of non-stick paper or anything. I'm always a little bit worried that it will stick to the pot, so I'm using and reusing as many times as I can the non-stick paper. But I tip it on the non-stick paper, make a cross or whatever design you want on the top.
Score the bread. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And then put it in the pot, put the lid on,
And then
shove it in the oven.
I was gonna say fridge.
Well, I might have different results from that.
Yeah.
A little bit, yes.
That'd be weird.
And I put it in the oven for 40 minutes.
Depends on the oven.
Yes.
I would say if this is your first time, really keep an eye on the bread because everyone's oven is pretty much different.
I would check it after 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Open the oven, lift the lid, and you will see if it's just very pale, then put the lid back on and leave it for another good 10 minutes and then check it again.
Yeah, because this oven we have now is really
very slow.
Really slow, but the one we had in England was much faster.
The bread was done after 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So back in England when my oven was high, it was faster. I don't know if the temperature, well, because it was with the fan as well. They say it's faster when the fan is, and it was electric oven with a fan. So it was usually done 30 minutes. And I would check it after, let's say, those 20-25 minutes. Then I usually took the lid off and let it sort of get a little bit more color. I like when the edges are a little bit sort of nearly black.
A little charred.
Yeah, a little bit.
I like
that. But here I don't have to worry about it for 40 minutes, and then I can check, and sometimes it will be still very pale.
But afterwards, after it's baked...
When it's baked, I tip it on the chopping board.
Take it out of the pot, but very carefully, obviously.
Yeah, it's hot. Very hot. Very hot. Yeah, I tip it and put it on the chopping board to cool down. When I bake overnight, well, in the night, in the evening, then I go to bed. I put clean dishcloth over it so it can cool down slowly. If it's in the morning or midday, then there is one always sort of disappears very soon. Yeah, we usually say, oh, it's time for coffee, and shall we have a little bit of bread with butter and salt?
And then Carolina eats like half of the loaf. Yeah.
Can I ask you to do the animals today? Chickens and rabbits. Thanks.
Did you get any yesterday?
No.
Smell nice?
Yes. With butter and salt.
Mm-hmm.
That will be nice.
Good. Very lovely.
I don't know.
Turn off the oven afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoy.
And enjoy the bread. Get that fresh. When you
I didn't
cut it.
say when I measure the flour and add the salt and all these things and the starter, then I feed the starter again. I add water and flour again and mix it, and make it kind of like a thicker. Because it gets runny all the time. I don't know how really the chemistry works, but and then you can put it back in the fridge and leave it there for how long you need it. We even went for holidays. It was there unused for 2-3 weeks and it survived nicely in the back of the fridge where the temperatures don't go up and down as much as in the front. In the back of the fridge, 2-3 weeks it can survive. You can add seeds.
Yeah, you can add whatever you like. There's like people add raisins and nuts.
But all these things I would add at the very end.
Oh yeah, but you don't add them when you're leaving it to rise.
No, just when you take it out of the bowl before you put it in the proving baskets, then you add whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I don't remember.
I think that's it really, yeah. I mean, it says it's already like 23 minutes long, this is.
How can you read it?
It says 24 minutes
I
long.
get you now.
Right up here.
Don't.
Just sat here for 24 minutes.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all really. So, I hope it was... What's the word?
Informative.
I hope it was...
Enjoyable.
There's an actual word there, isn't there? Like, I hope it was...
Helpful.
Helpful, I don't know. I hope someone learnt a bit, maybe, or, you know, they just enjoyed it, really.
It really bothers me how high it is.
Hold on.
If you just... Oh yeah, you can't just... Oh yeah, that's better. Now we have to redo it all over again.
Oh, God. That does make more sense, doesn't it? Okay, I'll say that's all really.